Hi, folks. I'm Jamie Hiles.
I'm Lydia Judy.
And I'm Derek Labasta.
This is Screenplay Movies, the podcast where we review a horror movie each week, go over the horror news, and Derek becomes guest on.
Well,
no
I had to demonstrate
one.
my English accent from last week's episode. I had a cold.
You did have a cold last week. Yeah, that's true. Welcome to episode 2 of season 3 of Screen Bloody Movies, where we are going to talk about a crazy-ass movie from last year, Barbarian. I'm excited to talk about it. These guys already clued me in that it's a wild trip, and it is a wild trip, and I can't wait to get into it.
Where's it going to go? Is it going to go, where's it going to go? You don't know.
You don't know. That was a pretty good Joaquin Phoenix you just did.
Okay.
It's a Gladiator reference, Derek.
Oh, yeah. I haven't thought
Remember
about
that movie that won all those Oscars?
Time. Yeah, apparently they like rewrote the movie like while they were shooting it. Something
they had
like
to
that.
do a lot of stuff, yeah. They had cast members die and shit too in the middle of filming.
What?
Yeah. Crazy stuff. So, guys, how are you doing tonight?
Doing good. I'm really full. I ate like a bunch of candy while I was watching this movie.
Oh, good.
Like I went for the full like movie theater experience and just got so much like candy and stuff.
Oh, do you have like like little M&Ms and
yes, little
Nice.
M&Ms and Twizzlers and some Mike and Ike's.
Mike and Ike's,
a
classic.
couple other things.
You know what my favorite is? It's a hot take, but my favorite is cookie dough bites.
Oh yeah, I couldn't find any cookie dough bites at the
And
store.
dots. I also dig dots.
Ooh,
Dots
Not
just
a
take me
dot.
back.
not a dot person.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of my favorite candy. I don't know, like peanut M&Ms.
Those are great too. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Some Reese's Pieces.
Oh yeah,
Can't go wrong, especially if you're watching E.T. That's the way to go.
yeah.
Dude,
yeah.
I destroyed. We bought a couple of big bags of candy for Halloween. I normally don't eat candy. Like I don't eat candy, but boy, I just decided I was going to eat every fucking Snickers bar that was in those bags.
Snickers are good. I'm a
couldn't
Milky Way
help-
man myself.
Yeah, they're little bite size, so I was like,
Yeah, we had some of the peanut butter Snickers, and now I'm like a huge fan of those.
Those are good too.
I
Yeah.
had no idea.
Oh yeah,
I've been doing it
They're
wrong this whole
addictive.
time.
Yeah. I'm a Milky Way guy, and I also like Baby Ruths. Big Baby Ruth guy. When I
Baby Ruths.
when I used to work retail, I used to go to when I was at loss prevention, I used to hit up the machines, vending machines, and just buy a Baby Ruth every day. Like Baby Ruth time, I need to get me through the day.
Dude,
And
that
that's probably
reminds me of
why I
the
gained
Goonies.
weight.
yeah. We're a Kit Kat household for sure.
Kit Kats are great too.
Kit Kats
Can't
are
go wrong
good.
with Kit Kats. Guys, this is episode 2 of season 3. So I'm going to do things exactly the same way we've always done it.
We're gonna
Threw you for a
agonize.
loop, didn't I? Thought I was going to do something completely different, but I did not. Hang on. After this episode, I've got to replace this chair because it just keeps on dropping down on me.
Really?
Not the
I noticed
best.
my chair's getting a little worn out too.
Yeah, this is a nice chair, but it's just today, while I was editing the episode, I would be editing, and then the next thing I know, I'm like clear down here, and I'm like, what is going on?
Yeah, 3 seasons of a
That's
podcast
right.
will do that to a chair, you know.
It will. Guys, I've got a shitload of horror news, so let's not mess around and let's get
All
right
right,
into
let's-
it.
Let's hear it.
So first of all, let's start with this bit. Remember a while back we talked about they're making a new Alien movie. Do you guys remember this?
Yep.
It's called Alien Romulus is the working title. It is directed by Fede Alvarez.
What?
Okay.
Yes.
Is this going to
So-
be like a crossover with Star Trek. They're going to
Not
capture
Romulan. Romulus.
Okay.
But here's the thing with it. It starts
We're the
filming
plot
in
of the movie.
February. So it's actually being fast-tracked. It's about to happen.
Oh, wow.
This is going to be
So-
the first Alien movie since the last two that hasn't been directed by Ridley Scott, because ever since Alien Resurrection and AVP, all of the Alien movies have been directed by Ridley Scott again. So,
Which, by the
what are
way,
you
I
guys'
liked
thoughts?
I liked the previous iterations, the Covenant and the one that started off like the new
Prometheus?
Prometheus. There you go. I couldn't think of it. Thank you. So, did we talk about them making an Alien TV show?
That was a thing that was being hit around, and I don't know
Okay.
if it's been, because Ridley
That's what I
Scott
recall.
supposedly is developing that. He's producing this. So Ridley Scott is producing this movie. But we don't know anything about it. We know that it's kind of almost a side quest, I guess. And it's kind of lower budgeted. So we don't know exactly what we have in store here. But I'm a big fan of Fede Alvarez.
Mm-hmm.
I like pretty much everything he's done, including Don't Breathe. But so I'm excited. I'm excited to see what. Are you guys excited for a new Alien movie? Just to be back in that world.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
Excited too. We got this little piece of news. They are making. I know. I'm interested to hear you guys feel about this. We're getting a new Purge sequel. Purge 6 is on the way. Are you guys purged out?
I've been
I
purged
only-
out for about 3 of them.
Yeah, I haven't been super interested. I watched the first one a long time ago and I liked it.
It's good. Ethan Hawke, yeah.
Yeah, Ethan Hawke. But after that, I just kind of like lost interest and didn't watch the rest of them. But I heard some stuff about them, and now I'm kind of like, maybe I should give those a.
We'll get into them eventually.
Yeah.
I've liked some of the sequels I've watched. I think I've watched all of them. Some of them are okay. Frank Grillo is in 2 of them, and he is actually going to be in this new one as well as that same character. But we don't have much else. We know that it is directed by James DeMonico, who has directed the some of the others, and that's all we know so far. But
Does it have a title?
no, just Purge 6 so far. We just know that James DeMonico and Frank Grillo are both back to do it. So, since you guys don't know, aren't the biggest fans, are you still interested to see it? I mean,
I'm always interested when there's like a franchise that's like just keeps going.
yeah,
It's
like the
always
Energizer Bunny.
Yeah, it's like interesting no matter what, kind of, because you're just like, well, what else are they gonna do?
What are
And
they
so
going to
they're
purge
like-
this week?
Yeah, and so they're like Purge in space.
It's coming.
I do gotta say,
it's
like the original was like a really interesting concept.
It is.
Mhm.
It's the original is. I think the first 2 or 3 are pretty good.
Yeah, I
Um,
watched the first 2 or 3.
because the first one is a great contained thriller, but the second and third one open up and you see the actual world that
Mhm.
was promised to you. You get the promise paid off. So yeah, I would like to get into those eventually. Those would be fun. Derek,
Could you
this is for you.
imagine living in that world?
No, it'd be terrible.
Yeah, it would be.
But Derek, this news is for you. Kevin Smith is definitely, he gave a positive update on his new movie. It is called Moose Jaws. It's literally Jaws, but with a moose
Oh my
in
gosh.
Canada. And he says that believes he can make it for $3 million. And it looks like it is coming down the line. He also said that there's a Tusk sequel maybe in the way, and then another Jay and Silent Bob reboot as well. But what are you guys' thoughts on having a Moose Jaws?
I love it. I love it. It sounds amazing.
So I haven't seen Tusk, but I actually heard that it was like pretty decent. It was okay for what it was.
It's something. Yeah.
It's
Dude,
something.
I'm
It's a
not,
movie that exists.
I don't know, man. I just go back to like I watched movies like Sand Sharks, which is like literally what you think it is, and I'm just like,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
he does better than that,
Yeah. Well, well, it's Kevin
Brooke
Smith. It's
Hogan.
better than that. Yeah.
no less.
What?
Brooke Hogan was in Sand
Oh,
Sharks.
that's right. She was in that one. It's good. All right. This is a positive update. I hope you guys will like this as much as I do. James Wan could help Jason Blum revive the Invisible Man sequel. So we still could be getting an Invisible Man sequel from James Wan, or at least as a producer.
How'd the first one do?
So it's not going to be as good, is what you're saying.
Well, if James Wan's involved, it should be good. I think.
All right. I'm like, I want him to be a little bit more hands-on than just producer. That's
Well,
all I'm
I think
saying.
he produced the first one because Lee Winnell wrote and directed the first one.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's right. Sorry.
So he should be
Cut all
on.
that. Cut
yeah.
all that out. I'll be
So he
big
should
fan.
be on, but we don't know if Lee Winnell is coming back. But it was a big hit. I mean, it made 144 million during COVID, like at the beginning of
Yes.
the pandemic in March of 2022.
Gosh, we need to talk about that movie.
We
Yeah.
need to do
So,
Holiday at some point.
Yeah, we do. But he is. Juan said he'd be happy to do more, and Jason Blum wants more, and I'm sure that Lee Winnell probably has an idea. Are you guys down for another trip on the Invisible Man?
Yeah. That movie was really great.
I gotta watch it. I haven't watched it yet.
Oh, you haven't seen it yet? Yeah, it's pretty good.
Sounds like it was pretty good though.
Now, this last piece of horror news actually goes hand in hand. And the first part is sad, and the second part is interesting. Ruggero Deodato, the director of Cannibal Holocaust, has died at 83.
Oh.
So one of the pioneering filmmakers of the independent, of an independent filmmaker, and one of the pioneering filmmakers of the found footage genre. I mean, Cannibal Holocaust is the OG found footage.
Right.
So he passed away at 83 this week.
Wow.
So that's sad.
That's a pretty good run.
A very good run. I mean, 83. That's a good one. Good run.
Will not be
And
forgotten.
he, had a indelible impact on cinema.
Absolutely.
Now here's the kicker. He made a video game before his passing, or at least was involved with the video game was passing, that pretty much acts as a sequel to Cannibal Holocaust, called Bornero, A Jungle Nightmare.
Oh.
Coming to Steam, Switch, PlayStation 4, Xbox One in 2024. It is a 3D horror adventure game with direction and original script by Ruggero Deodato, where we take control of different characters in a desperate expedition on the virgin jungles of Borneo.
Wow.
That sounds like it'd be pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
So even though he's gone, he has one more project, and it sounds like a very interesting project on the horizon.
Yeah.
So
I can't imagine like an 80-year-old like just working on a video game or something,
dude,
How fantastic is that?
well, John Carpenter loves video games. That's all he does. He just plays video games. So, and he's written scripts for video games, and he's directed scenes for video games.
Wow.
He needs to do Dead Space. We talked about that. He needs to do a Dead Space adaptation. I'd be totally down. Or I'd just be down to like play online with John Carpenter.
Could you imagine?
Can you imagine?
I wonder what his like gamer name is.
The Master of Horror.
Right, something. The Shape. Just
The
like
Shape.
something
Ooh,
big.
that'd be a good one. That'd be a good one. All right. And that wraps up.
I'd be like
this...
John C. 1979. Anyway.
that wraps up this edition of the horror news. So, guys, we're going to talk about Barbarian. Now, this is both of your guys' first time watching this, correct?
Yeah.
Yep.
So, did either of you know anything about it going in?
I knew that it was a little bit of a like I had heard from my friend that he didn't like it, but he doesn't like any movie.
Yeah.
But he seemed to think there was like a big twist in it that I wasn't gonna like. So.
And Derek, did you know anything about this movie?
Nope, nothing. I know.
See, that's exactly how I went into this movie. Was completely cold. Now, like I heard some reviews, but I purposely didn't read anything that would be somewhat spoilery or anything like that. So I went in cold. I barely knew the synopsis. I saw the teaser trailer, I think. It was like, that looks cool. So this is my second time watching this. The first time I just sat down, HBO Max one day. I was home. I think I was off work or it was on a weekend and Sarah was at work. So I just was like, I'm going to find something here and decided to watch it finally. And when that flip happens, which we'll get to, I was just like, okay, let's go. Let's do it. Because I didn't even know what the plot was about.
Mm-hmm.
So I just was gathering the plot was, I read the little synopsis and, the little blurb, and I just expected the plot was what it was. I expected a kind of home invasion-ish thriller or, a captive thriller, something like that, Black Phone-ish even.
Mm-hmm.
And we get something completely different. So it was pretty good time. So where do you want to start? Let's actually start at the beginning. Because this opening scene, I think, this opening shot is gorgeous.
I agree 100%. I love that transition coming from outside and you hear this ominous music and then that transition into the car and it's silent. You just hear the rain.
Yeah.
It's
so
great.
like you hear like this like wailing, screaming, like haunting
music. Yeah.
Like voices.
Uh-huh. Yeah. And then we get
and
in
it
and
stops once you're in the car.
Yeah. Just the rain.
So you're kind of like, is that really like what it sounds like outside right now?
Yeah. Yeah. And then I just love the way it's lit. I think it's beautifully lit. It's just really well shot and beautifully lit. While I was watching it, that's the first thing I was like, okay, I can get into this. This is like really beautiful, So we're introduced to our main character, and she is in Detroit for a job interview. And so she rented this Airbnb and goes up to the Airbnb, and the key is not in the key box. So she's like, great.
He answers it.
Right.
He knocks on it.
Knocks on it, yeah. Because, so what do you guys think of this setup and opening?
Oh man, it's so good. The more I think about it, like the better it is, because it's like the neighborhood.
That's a great shot too.
Later,
that's a great
shot.
And
you don't see any of it. It's just pitch black, raining, and so you are really just with her, and a man answers the door, and you're like, oh no, like run away, get away from here. Yeah. Like women don't mess around in a situation like that. Like,
well, and it takes a lot for her to come. What I like is that it takes a lot for her to actually go in, and because she did. I mean, what I would have just probably not went in at all.
Exactly.
Because it's just like, oh, yeah, but they pay it off because she tries to call and there's no other. Oh, there's a convention in town. There's nowhere else to stay, so she's screwed.
She called one place. She didn't try very hard.
To be fair, she did only call one place. But no, you're right. I mean, I just would have been like, well, I'm gonna go find a truck stop to sleep in or something. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But we wouldn't have a movie if she did that. So
yeah, so there's a couple of really like going back to the way that this movie was shot. Like, there's a great realization she has when she's like trying to get in and she can't see anything, and she just happens to glance around the neighborhood, and it's like pitch black.
Yeah.
Right. You don't see street lights. You don't see,
Don't see anything.
You
Yeah.
don't see the
Rooms.
danger.
Yeah, because all you see is that
that's
bubble.
all you is the danger,
Yeah.
because there's no, like, nobody has a lamp on in their house, right? And she obviously didn't pay attention when she drove into this neighborhood.
No, that's a great
So
bit that we
dark.
find out a little bit later. Is once it's daytime, we see exactly how like terrible the neighborhood is.
Yeah.
All
It's this
destroyed
one
houses.
house,
Yes.
Yeah.
and
It's like
everything
it's
else is
spooky.
abandoned.
It's
Yeah.
spooky because it's like a pitch black neighborhood and the guy says it's not safe. So all she has is his word that it's not safe.
Yeah,
And then you see it during the day and you're like, whoa,
it's
so
not safe. You're right. Yeah, because he literally is trying to get her to stay there, and you're like, this guy's fucking probably creepy. Because I mean, let's say who it is. Who is it?
It's Bill Skarsgård, but
Yes, it is.
this is
But-
the.
Keith.
Go ahead.
Good.
Keith.
Yes,
I was
Keith.
going to say, so like, not knowing anything about this movie,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't read a synopsis. I just went in completely blind. And this, if you go in that way,
Mm-hmm. Like, yeah,
the tension in this movie, especially in the beginning,
it's
is
super
just
tight. Yeah,
because every time you're just like, he's the bad guy. He's going to do something right here.
well,
Or,
dude,
he's making her tea. He's definitely going to spike it.
they made it. I mean, they cast Bill Skarsgård specifically for that. So
Yeah.
we would say
He's a creepy guy.
he's the killer. He's the killer, even though he's being
Pennywise
complete.
right there.
Even though he's being
Yeah.
like completely nice the whole time, he's being honest. Like when he makes her the tea, he says, I can make you. You can watch me make it. I know you probably think I might have spiked it or something, and I understand that. And so he's like pointing out all these things.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
he's like, I'm going to sleep on the couch. You can have the bed. And they have all that tension, and you're waiting for the other shoe to drop. And instead, Keith is just who he says he is.
Yeah.
And he is part of the documentary. Like he's connected to the documentary that she is actually, interviewing for a position on with the director. And
and he catches her off guard because they start talking when she like loosens up a little bit, and she was like, "Oh, I'm here." She tells him that she's there for an interview with this director, and like that she made this movie, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I saw that." And she's untrusting. She was like,
yeah,
"Okay, you didn't see that movie. No one saw that movie. It was like
Yeah.
super independent." And he's like, "Oh no, I loved it. Like with these kids on the roof."
Yeah.
And
Which makes us not trust him a little bit because we're like, okay, you've seen the movie that she just happens to be a part.
yeah,
like
stalker of some sort.
yeah,
What's
and
going on?
why is he here? How did they get double booked like this? Like, how did this happen? Something's weird. Like that's the feeling I kept getting. Like something.
That's what you
is
have. You
weird.
that's all you're stuck with. You're like,
Mhm.
something's obviously
Well,
off.
and I think that's a credit to the writers and the director of this movie. That like, so this is a situation that 100% could happen. Somebody who double books an Airbnb. I'm sure that happens all the time. And
What's
then,
great is that she calls and it goes to voicemail. Nobody answers. And then he tries, because he goes through a different site. He booked it through a different site. And no, he doesn't get anything either. And we kind of find out why in a little bit. But yeah, the tension in this whole first half, this whole first section is so good. And when she goes to bed, because they like drink a little bit, they kind of are getting a little, comfortable with each other. And she goes to bed and the door creeps open because she makes a point of locking the door every time she goes in somewhere. Like she goes to the bathroom, locks the door, goes here, locks the door. When she goes to bed, she doesn't lock it. And it creeps open and we hear, some noises. And then we see Keith like laying on the bed or on the couch, like, oh, no.
He's having a nightmare.
Yeah. So she goes up to him like a creep, first of all, to be fair. When he wakes up, his reaction was warranted.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And then the tables kind of turn a little bit right there.
Yeah.
He's like, you scared me. Like, that's not okay.
Yeah, because he like wakes up and she's just standing there. And he's like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah. Like, you're a stranger and you just scared me while I was asleep. That's
Yeah,
not
she's
cool.
like, you were making noise, and he's like, oh, I was. I don't know. I didn't know I did that.
Yeah.
So they both go to sleep. Everything's fine. She wakes up the next morning, and she heads off onto her job interview, and that's where we see the city, and we see the neighborhood, and see that it is literally a nice house in all abandoned houses. Like everything else is abandoned.
Yeah, like super abandoned.
And when she meets with the director, she tells the director where she's staying, and she's like, what are you talking about? And she's like, yeah, I've got this place. Like, that's not a good neighborhood. You need
like,
to really
can't stay there.
Yeah, you can't stay. You really need to be careful. I mean, I'll get you somewhere else to stay, kind of, just geez. So
She doesn't offer that. She should have, maybe.
That's what I'm saying. She's like,
yeah. But because she kind of had a good night the night before with meeting this new guy,
who she's starting to
I
like.
kind of have a roommate.
Yeah, and she's
totally
starting to.
With him.
Yeah, she's starting to like him because they have a lot in common, and they're both nice young people. So when she goes back and she needs to get the toilet paper, and she goes downstairs, and then gets trapped in the basement. That's just a scary thought. Let's just say if that's it by itself, that's all that happened in this movie, is she just gets trapped in the basement of an Airbnb. That's terrifying.
Especially in an abandoned neighborhood.
Yeah. I mean, that's a terrifying concept.
That guy had already chased her at that point.
Yes.
He chased her into the house.
And we find out later that he's trying to save her. And I called that. I was like, that guy's chasing her because he's
100%.
Like, don't go in there.
Yeah, he knows something.
Yeah. But,
if he would have been more verbal or calm, be like, ma'am.
Hey, excuse me, ma'am.
Yeah.
There's a fucking creep in your house.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that guy probably didn't have the best social skills, but he tried.
Bedside manner.
He tried.
But
I mean, there's no way he could have looked her in the eye, so
that's true. That's true.
But
when when she's down there and she finds the secret room.
Yes. Out.
Yeah.
She says nope.
The way she does it is perfect. She goes in, sees the creepy ass bed with the camera, and she's like, nope.
No, she says nope when she pulls that string.
Pulls it open.
The door.
Yeah.
And it's so dark, she's like, nope.
Nope.
She's this lady is very, very, very smart. Like that was an ingenious way to light a path to see what was down there because she doesn't have
when she uses the mirror.
The mirror. Yeah.
The mirror and the light.
Man, how creepy is that? As soon as I saw that rope, this is how good this movie was. I was on the edge of my seat at this rope. I was like, no.
Well, as soon as I saw the rope, I was like, don't open it.
Yeah, don't pull on that rope that's in the wall. You don't know what that is.
First thing I would have done, just in case there was somebody who was going to come out the other way, I would have put shit in front of the door, just so that if they did try, you at least have a barrier or something you can, not that it's going to save you, but it'll buy you a little bit of time to do something.
Yeah, well, she she sees the creepy bed and everything, and then
oh my God,
he knocks on or she tries to get to the window and can't quite get it open.
Let's not bypass this room, because this room is something
terrifying.
Else. It's got this dingy ass bed, disgusting bucket, and a camera.
A VHS camera. Yeah. And a VHS camera at that.
Yeah.
And a bloody handprint on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that shit's went on in this room.
Yeah, it's not good stuff either. Not good stuff.
Yeah.
Unless they were filming a new Saw movie there. Who knows? But I like that she's trying to get through the window and she just can't.
Yeah.
And then she sees Keith comes in. And, she asks him, he's like, what the hell are you doing down there? It's like
the stress of her having the key and her being locked in the thing. Nobody can get in
because he can't get in the house.
How crazy is that?
Yeah, the phone's upstairs on the table.
Her.
He can't, so he has to, she has to get his attention and he has to help her up and pulls her up. And at this point, I'm still thinking, well, obviously he's,
it had me all the way until he died.
Yeah,
I was
it's like,
you're like,
yeah, man, obviously he's in on this. He knows about this room.
Yes.
And so he goes down, and he's like, I'll go down for a minute. And she's like, no.
30 seconds. Yeah, because dude, I'm telling you, if I were in the situation and someone told me that, I'd be like, man, that's crazy. Let's go buy a gun and we'll come back and we'll check it out.
Yeah,
Or
well, I would say
something like that. He's like, no,
let's get in the car and fucking leave.
Yeah.
And then we'll call the police.
I 1000% would have left.
I would have told Keith, I'd have been like, Keith, you do whatever you want. I'm going to go sit in my car. And if you're not out in a minute, I'm leaving.
Yeah.
I'll call the cops for you.
Yeah.
I just would have gotten in the car and called the cops. There would have been just absolutely no questions.
But
when
the cops don't come.
Good. Yeah, that'd be no good. We'll find that out later.
Well, yeah, but it's slightly different when that happens. The situation's different by that point. At this point, she's well-to-do in her car, calling the police.
She had already called the police, and they were like, "Oh, we can't help you.
We don't have any.
We don't have a unit in there."
Yeah, but it's like, you go to the police station and say, "Hey, there's a creepy ass room in this house that looks like it was a murder rape room."
Yeah.
And then I'm
this
sure
crime scene.
Police officer would be like, we probably should check out the murder rape room.
Actually, turns out that's exactly what it was.
Yes, it was. So here's where the shit goes down, guys. So to this point, you're thinking claustrophobic thriller, right?
Mm-hmm.
So walk me through your guys' feelings from this one.
So she goes back down the stairs, and you're like, no,
never.
Don't go back down the stairs. You said you weren't gonna go. She's smart. She puts a chair in front of the door so it doesn't close on her, because it almost closes on her again with her down there and him in the thing checking out the room. So she goes down. She's like, hey, did you see the room? And he's like, yeah. And then she's like, all right, come back up. And he doesn't respond. So she goes back in there to look for him, like to find him, because he's not responding to her, and she's clearly upset about it.
Dude, if he's not responding, that's again when we're fucking beating feet.
Yes, like just leave. Yeah. He's like, if he's not responding, maybe he's trying to booby trap you or set you up, kind of thing. Like,
yeah, well, that's what I was thinking.
Exactly. Like literally, that was my thought process up until it happened.
Like, he's trying to get in that room with him.
He's trying to get her down there. He's trying to lure her down there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he was like, oh, we can't go back that way, which is the way out.
Oh, yeah, but we haven't even got there yet, man.
She looks in the room. She goes in the room fully and looks under the bed, and he's not under the bed. Thank goodness. Right?
I thought there was going to be a jump scare right there.
I know, yeah. And then so she walks back out of the room and finds another door that goes further into a deeper, darker cave underground, cavernous, right? It's like a small claustrophobic tunnel stairs that go down even further. Once again, don't go down those stairs, right?
Right.
That's And then she hears him screaming for help very distantly.
Think it's a trap still. Yeah.
Such a trap, right? Yeah. So she goes down. She keeps going. She keeps going to help him. She's such a kind-hearted person. She's like, I can't live with myself without trying to help this guy that I barely know.
Yeah. And so when he pops out and gives us the scare, and she's like, let's go. He's like, no.
He's crawling towards her, which is so creepy.
Creepy. So when he's telling her, you can't go that way because there's somebody there. Like you were saying, Derek, you still were thinking, right?
Oh, yeah. I was thinking, nope, he definitely doesn't want her to get out. He's trying to get her deeper into his lair.
Deeper into the tunnel, yeah.
Yeah. And then out of nowhere, this fucking monster pops out. This
giant
naked woman.
Cave woman.
And bashes his head into a pulp. Yeah.
Smashes it with her bare hands.
What the fuck are you guys thinking at this point?
I was so in shock. I think I was just like, jaw dropped. Like, what?
Dude, I just
okay, so now we know there's someone down here.
Yeah. Well, I had flashbacks to that cave movie. Descent.
Oh, The Descent?
I was just like, what the fuck is this hillbilly shit?
And Hills
Yeah.
Have
You take-
Eyes,
Yeah.
and like you
Yeah.
know, all
It
of the
caught me off
movies that
guard,
have
that's
that.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
I didn't know.
but it's not done because then
No.
we just cut into a completely different movie.
Cut into Donovan
AJ.
music.
It looks like she's dead. Like she's murdered. We think.
Right.
I mean, we think she's done, and
So-
we just cut
Yeah.
to a completely different movie. Like it's like a totally different movie. It seems like.
Yeah.
This opening, and we're
The
introduced to
music,
and then we're introduced to freaking Justin Long's character, AJ.
driving down a beautiful
Los
California
Angeles, yeah.
beach drive kind of situation,
What were
singing
you
the funniest song I've ever heard.
What were you guys thinking at this point? Because I know what I was thinking. When this happened, I was just like, I felt like this weird numbness through my body, and I was like, "What the fuck? What the fuck is going on?"
Honestly, the first thought I had was, "Oh, this must be her boyfriend who was, or like her ex that was trying to contact her." That was the first thought I had. I went through my mind because at the beginning of the movie,
Good point.
somebody tried to call her twice, and she said no, and then she was talking about this guy who was controlling.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, well, maybe he's gonna go try and find her now."
So I knew that
I
somebody.
didn't even think of that.
I knew somehow he was going to be involved. Like he was going to, somehow either end up in the same spot to save her or what have you.
Yeah.
But I hadn't. But I just was like, the shift was just so sudden.
And the
And I was like,
direction it takes really
Yeah.
is unpredictable.
It's completely unpredictable because we're introduced to AJ, and it's a kind of brilliant piece of casting because they cast Justin Long because he's so innately likable.
Oh yeah.
You want to like Justin Long,
Yes.
and AJ
Damn
is a
it.
terrible fucking person.
Yes.
But you don't know that at the
But you
beginning.
don't
do
know.
know that. You do know.
You kind of don't. And
You find out more.
You find
and
out
more.
he's a terrible fucking
dude,
person.
I was kind of rooting for it, but like until the point where he told us, we'll get to it whenever he was in the bar, and I'm like, that sounds
Yeah.
real suspicious.
Yeah,
Mm.
no,
like,
no.
I'm kind of like on his side until like the very
Well,
end. I'm
that's
just
the
like,
point. That's
man,
what I'm saying.
mm,
That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. That's
Yeah.
why it's
Yeah.
genius cast. And they cast Justin Long
Yes.
because you're going to trust him and you're going to give him the benefit of the doubt.
Yes,
gonna
which I
believe him.
totally did. I totally
Yeah,
did.
for
I did
sure,
my
I
first time
definitely
watching
did
it
too.
too until that bar scene. And I was like, oh, 100% a fucking rapist.
Yeah, so you're like, no,
100%.
they
100%.
got us. They got
And then he
us.
just keeps becoming more and more awful
Yes.
as the movie goes on. And you
see, I
that-
actually felt like he started.
He kind of like
not a redemption arc. That's not what I'm
fluctuates.
trying to say. Like when he gets back and he calls and he's like, he's drunk and he's talking to that.
No, bro, no. That's
we'll
not
get
a
to it.
redemption. That's 100%
That's what I
him
just
trying
said.
to
It's
save his
not
own
a
ass.
redemption.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. You're right. But like,
There's a point where he says, like, I need to fix things, and you're like, okay,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah,
But
well,
then
you think so.
immediately takes
I
it
really
all back.
messed up. And then
Yeah,
he like
yeah.
immediately was like, you know what? I'm gonna throw that all away.
Yeah,
Yep,
I'm
yep.
actually
Let's get back to
attracted.
this.
Yeah.
Then
Then I was
then
just
you
like,
know
man,
who he is.
I hope you
Yeah.
die.
So
I
here's
can't
the
wait.
best. He gets
A phone call.
So he gets a
he
phone
gets a phone call,
Yeah.
and it's basically he had this new TV show that was going to go to series. It was picked up, and he's off the show because the lead actress. He's like, well, yeah, we had like what, some kind of. He actually is denying that they even had a fling. He's like, we talked and stuff, and he's like, what's she saying, that I harassed her? And she's like, no. Or what? They're saying you fucking raped her. And he's like in shock, and he pulls over on the side of the road. And so, like you said, we're on his side. Like, wow, this is probably
That's devastating. If
devastating if
'cause
he's being like
he could
falsely
never-
accused.
Justin Long would never do something like that,
Yeah.
So you're like, oh my gosh, it's gonna ruin his whole career. We don't even know who this guy is.
What's great is after watching the movie and you think back, especially my second time watching it, going through when this moment happens and there's that shock on his face. It's not, how could I be accused of this? It's, I can't believe she fucking told us.
Yes, that
It's
says
It's 100%
everything.
privilege.
And
it's
is
his
called-
privilege.
Calling her names and
Yeah.
blaming her.
Yep. Everything's her fault.
But
Yep.
like as a first watch,
Victim
and you're
shaming.
like, you're like, they totally trick you with Justin Long because you're
Mhm.
like, he would
Mhm.
never do that. You know, he's such a good guy. Look how sweet he is, and like whatever.
Perfect.
And then you're just like, wait, well, maybe he did. You know, who knows? Maybe he
Yeah,
did do something
perfect.
like that.
Yeah,
You
so
don't
his
know.
whole life starts dive bombing. He
Oh,
loses
yeah.
his job. He loses his
Financial
broker,
advisor.
basically financial advisor said, "Hey, we can't be doing anything after this." And we find out that he owns several properties, one of
In
which is
Michigan.
an Airbnb in Michigan.
Ah.
And he has to go there because he basically has nowhere else to go at this point. And he has to go there because he's going to try to flip it. He's going to try to sell it.
hmm
And they're like, "There's nothing in that neighborhood, man. You know what?
Yeah, and
What do
he's
you-
they. Someone advises him that he shouldn't even be leaving
No, because
anywhere. You know,
he shouldn't be leaving
his
because it's
lawyer.
getting into criminal. It's starting to become into criminal trespassing, or criminal charges could start to be brought up due to the rape. So it's not
Yes.
only civil, but it could be criminal.
Mhm.
Yeah, because he said
And
he has 2 different cases.
yeah, there's a civil case and then there's the criminal case. So it has to go. How it would work is it had to go in front of a grand jury, see if the evidence is there, and then to pursue the charges. So he just leaves anyway.
Mhm.
And so he calls his mom and he says this, he gets the Airbnb and he sees all this shit. Like he sees the phone on the table. He sees the bag left. And he's like, "Who's it?" He calls the agent, "Who's in my house?" Nobody. They should have been gone. What was it, a week?
Couple weeks.
It was a couple
Yeah,
weeks.
couple weeks.
Like maybe 3 weeks, I think.
Yeah. And he's like, well, they left their shit here and nobody would be squatting in my house. And
You kind of see how the company is a little bit like sketchy. They don't really take care. They don't really take care of the property until another person is going to come stay in it.
Right. So he's on the phone with his mom, has this conversation with her, and is 100% blaming the woman, saying it's all her fault.
Mhm.
That I would never do anything like that. Blah blah, and he's sounding sincere and everything. And then as soon as the phone hangs up, his buddy calls, and he immediately throws in an F slur.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, so he's definitely a piece. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And then we get the bar scene where he tells his buddy, "You know what, man? No, I'm going to be 100% honest with you. We did fuck."
Mhm.
But I mean, she wanted it. It's like,
No, he was like, "Man, she said no at first, but I'm so persistent. I don't take no as an answer, and then we had sex, and I mean, she liked it."
Yeah,
And
that's
I'm just
right.
like, well, and that's definitely where you're just like, man, you crossed the line. And I did not say redemption. I said, you think it's gonna be like anyway. I didn't say that word.
Derek's like,
but
I don't want you guys to think that I'm on the side of the rapist.
Yeah, we know you're not there.
I'm not.
We know you're not.
And like when he gets back, he's wasted, and he gets back to the house, and he against the advice of his lawyer, he calls the girl and leaves her a voicemail. And you're 100% right. He is trying to CYA.
Yes.
And because he says there's people can have different versions of what happened.
I just want to talk to you, man. I care about you. Blah blah blah.
I'm gonna apologize like 3 times.
Yeah, call me back. I'll apologize to your face.
Yeah.
The next day, like, really gets me, dude.
Dude, the next day
cracks me the fuck up.
Dude, it's so funny.
I was laughing
when he goes down to the basement and finds the room.
Hungover too. That's even worse.
Yeah, and he finds the room, and instead of being like, "What the fuck," he's like, then he searches square footage.
Yes, the door doesn't lock on him for some reason, and he gets up out of the basement, and you're like, "Wait a minute!" And then he's Googling how much money he could get for this extra room.
And the fact he goes
He
into
doesn't even question.
he goes into the murder room with this freaking ruler, and then he's just like measure with the tape measure, and he's just like
tape measure, yeah.
And then he finds the second door, and he's like, "Yes,
yes."
So funny.
And he's like doing the tape measure all the way down the stairs. And then
Yeah,
he's like,
dude, the fact that he's not like questioning this at all.
Yeah,
and thinking that it's
you
weird
know,
and creepy.
I was kind of thinking like that he was gonna get caught with this house with this like rape room in it. You know what I mean? Like all these accusations are like in the news about him because he's like someone who makes movies and stuff or something.
Yeah,
TV pilots or whatever.
Yeah.
Were you guys thinking that like he's gonna get caught with his house?
Crossed my mind. No.
I had no idea what to think. I was thinking, the only thing I was thinking was like, surely she's still alive. Like, surely we've got to see Tess, and she's got to still be alive, because it would be really heartbreaking if he gets there and she's dead already.
Yeah.
We have to, I mean, especially since we actually care about her and like her.
Mm-hmm.
Well, like he backs up and he gets to those cages, right? And at first he's like, what the fuck? Yeah. Oh, well. And he like starts measuring.
Keeps on going.
Like, what's that?
Because I thought maybe he might find her in one of those cages, but if she were alive.
Oh, dude, when the tape measure, when you hear it go,
yeah,
it's so cool.
Something starts taking it.
That's a great bit when it starts luring with the tape measure.
Well, then he finds the
longest tape measure ever.
It is a long one. Yeah. What did you say, Derek?
I said, and then he finds the room, the
nursing room.
Pink room.
Yes.
Dude, this is where it like takes a hard fucking
this is
turn.
Where you're
down.
like, wait, what?
Well, because we get another flashback, or we get a flashback.
We do.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we get this flashback after he gets popped back into the cage.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, because he sees the creep room. And then he gets put into the cage. It falls into the cage, I think. And then we get the flashback. And this, you're muted, Derek.
Gosh, man, I thought I was gonna make it.
I thought so too.
He gets chased into that.
Chased
room.
into it. Yeah,
he's running away, and he falls into
it. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And we get the flashback, and he sees her. He sees Tess, and she's still alive. And then we get the flashback, and this flashback is fucking wild, right?
So this is the only critique I have of the movie, and it's not necessarily that it can't be placed where it is. I think this would have been better served personally as the opener.
Maybe,
but that's just me.
Maybe, yeah. But then it might have given too much away.
Yeah,
you would have been thinking about it in the back of your head the entire time.
Right?
Like, what's that about? So this
I
devastating.
Pretty much called it as soon as I see this flashback.
Oh yeah, you know what's going on. Yeah, you know what's happening.
And this guy always plays the scariest
He's a creepy guy always.
Everything, right?
Yeah. What's his name?
Like, serial killer, right there. Yeah, that's the
guy. His name is Richard Brake. Yeah.
Oh, he was in the Munsters movie.
Yes, he was. He plays the doctor.
Yes. Oh, he's in a lot of other things too, though.
This is a much better movie than the Munsters.
He was in The Mandalorian also.
Yeah, he was. He is the captain that freaking Bill Burr shoots.
Yes. Yes, he is. Very creepy.
Great in that too. But yeah, this scene is really disturbing and interesting because I like how we're behind him pretty much most of the entire flashback.
Yeah,
we're watching him just go through his things like, hey, how's it going? And he drives through and he at the store, and then he sees a woman and he fixates on her, and then he goes to his trunk, pulls out a uniform, and goes up to says, oh, we're gonna check this. And he goes and unlocks her window upstairs.
Mm-hmm.
And then
she's wearing a yellow dress, by the way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's important later.
Yeah, and we're just like, okay.
He picks up baby supplies. And also the neighborhood is super like pristine.
It's beautiful at the time.
Because it's like 60s 70s neighborhood.
70s.
Like
Looks like the 70s. Yeah.
color is like vivid and beautiful, and like the lawns are
Oh,
perfectly.
sorry, it's 1980s. It's the 80s. It flashes
Oh,
back
I
to.
thought it was 87 because I thought his license plate had a.
Yeah, maybe you're right. Yeah, it was the 80s,
Like
but it was
1987.
before Detroit fell into.
That's right, because
the
Asia is
Depression.
playing.
yes, it is.
Yeah.
And
I don't know
we
why I
did-
was thinking the colors made me think 60s. I think it was the
Yeah.
color.
Well, yeah, and the fact that he's getting all these baby supplies, and as soon as he gets the baby supplies, I knew. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
okay.
Mhm.
okay,
Home
and
birth.
because from that and the rape room, I kind of knew what was going on, just
Yep.
combined.
And it's so effectively scary.
Yeah. So
He plays the creepiest fucking dude, man.
Mhm.
You give those vibes. I kind of want to I hope they investigate the guy in real life. It's the kind of vibe he gives off.
It's a little
Very
bit
good
too good of an actor, right?
You're too
He
good at
is,
being
Lydia.
creepy.
He is.
Yeah.
No, I think the only crime against humanity he's committed was the monsters.
Yeah, no kidding.
Anyway,
I think he's
Yes.
friends with Rob Zombie or
he
something.
is. Yeah, he is.
He was in another one, like 31 or something like that.
Yeah, I think it is 31. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. Could be in that too.
Yeah.
Never made it past 29.
God.
Such an arbitrary number, but good one. So, when we go back, it gets fucking even wilder.
Oh my god, yeah.
AJ gets fucking breastfed.
Well, wait.
Yeah.
Before we get to the breastfeeding, she
bottle scene.
lowers this disgusting fucking bottle down
Oh,
there.
And
the
she
bottle.
drinks from it. Tess drinks. Yeah.
Drink it. And he's like, no. And then
She just wants you to be her baby.
Yeah.
Is what she keeps saying.
He's like,
Man,
he's
when
like,
you
I don't
make
want to be
that
down here. She's like,
connection-
she says, do you think I want to be down here?
Yeah.
dude, when you make this, for me, when I made the connection of what was going on, and you see her trying to feed them her milk,
Yeah.
my emotions flipped. I immediately went
Well,
to just a sadness.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, it
Or,
is. It
yeah,
is
that's
very
just-
sad.
it
Yeah.
is.
Mhm.
Yeah,
This
it is
movie's
sad.
really good at changing your mood. pretty
Yes.
quick.
So yeah, she
You're like, she's a monster, and then you're like, oh, she's just a mother. Like,
she's
that's
just a
what she is.
she's just a disturbed. I mean, she doesn't know anything different.
She doesn't know.
Doesn't know anything
anything.
different. And
Can't speak or anything.
Because that one
She
video
was-
is the only thing she's ever seen in her entire life.
Mhm.
so
which was
she,
the video that the lady gave
when,
At the
when
store.
her
when
dad.
she
Yeah, the store.
breastfeeds.
And she does the finger down his face.
Yeah,
And like boops him on the neck.
yeah. So fucking weird.
It's so good though, because at this point you're like, he is a rapist, and now this is happening to him.
Yeah, good.
So you're kind of just like, what is happening?
And Tess gets away.
What
She,
is this
she
movie
gets
doing?
barely, but she gets
Yeah.
away.
She gets away.
Because the
And
mother like leaves the door open,
Yeah.
the gate to the hole that she's in.
So she escapes, and
Barely, because the
mother
Oh,
tries to
almost
grab
gets
her
her.
out.
I
Yeah.
loved
Yeah.
that shot.
So creepy when she's like crawling back in.
She's so tall and like,
yeah, lanky. Yeah,
oh, it's so good.
yeah. She
Loved
like
that shot.
crawls back in. Yeah,
and this
And
tells
then-
you the character that she is.
Mhm.
yes.
Because she's immediately, because the homeless guy is watching all this, and he comes
Yeah.
over. I tried to tell you not to go in there. And
Helps
she's like,
her.
we got to go back in there. He was like, no way.
Yeah. What
You
the
get
fuck
out
is
of
that?
here.
He's
Get
like,
as far away as you can.
Yeah.
yeah. Not many people make it out. Nobody makes it out. And she's like, well, I did, and I'm leaving, but I've got to get him first. I can't leave him
Yeah.
down there. There's an innocent person down there. Which is the same thing she did with Keith. You know, she stayed around for Keith.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was like, you might just start leaving people.
I bet she
She's
doesn't
too
make
good
that
of a
mistake
person.
again.
Well, when she runs into the cops in this whole scene where she gets all
She's
the
been
cops,
down there for 3 weeks
so
drinking that milk.
she looks legit like a crackhead. Like,
Yeah, she looks
like a drug addict.
Even
she has
even
no idea
still,
how
like,
long
it
it's
has
been.
got to be your duty as a police officer to like at least take a look.
Listen. At least listen
Well,
a little bit.
yes, I agree. When they eventually go to the house, they can't get in. So, I mean, I do understand them not breaking and entering, because it's like, you know, as far as they're concerned, this woman is a drug addict, and they have no proof that anything about this house.
Right. She looks homeless in this like rundown neighborhood.
Yeah. So it tracks why, but they still should have done way more due
They
diligence.
don't. Yeah, it's upsetting.
Yeah, 'cause
100% they should
at
have.
this point, there's a broken window.
Mhm.
She
Mhm.
says she came out of there and she was a captive.
If nothing else, you take her back to the police station with you. She could
Yeah.
submit to a drug test, and you'd see that she's clean.
Right.
And then
Yeah.
she would give them their ID. Look,
Write a report
I was here, and then it would go. But instead, they get another call.
Yeah.
So
of a
they're
shooting.
just like, you know what to
Well,
tell you.
yeah, and it I think the thing that really doesn't help her case is it just happens to be in probably the worst neighborhood
The worst.
in Detroit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so like they're worried about people getting shots fired at and all this
Right.
stuff. And I do get that, but
No,
it's like
it's
the
more
movie's
police work
trying
regardless.
to say,
Yeah,
the movie's trying to say like this is what we need to be looking at, this problem.
Yes, it
does
is.
happen,
That's
you know?
part of the message.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So
she goes back in.
she goes back in.
Yeah, she
It's
does.
like, I don't know how else to say it. She just goes back in.
She goes back in, she gets her keys, right?
Mhm. Yeah,
That's helpful.
because she's gonna.
And we're like, okay, leave.
Yeah.
It would be if you left at that point.
Dude, that's exactly when she grabs those keys. When she grabs the keys off the thing, I was like, go. But no, she's like, heads back. I'm like, no. No, don't. So then things take an even crazier turn, because we end up meeting the creepy guy again.
Yeah. That he's been living down there.
Yeah. What'd you say, Derek? You're muted.
Her dad. We meet the rapist.
Yeah, the dad.
The other
father.
rapist.
Yeah, father. You've been living down there this whole
Grandpa,
time. Yeah,
uncle,
uncle,
all of the above.
whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just been chilling down there. And
I mean, he's in some rough shape, and Justin Long's character is the one who finds him.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like not really saying much. And he's like, I don't know what you want. And he was like, we got to get the cops here. They'll be all over this place. They're
dude,
gonna
the
like
fact
do
that
this
he's
stuff.
just missing all the red flags that like.
I know.
It's irritating.
So
yeah, it's
he
like
pulls the
part of
gun
his
out. I thought he
character,
was
though.
gonna shoot Long's
Yeah.
character.
Yeah.
But no, he
TJ,
realizes, oh shit, the cops are coming.
I'm fucked. Yeah. So
Yep.
he just shoots himself.
Yep.
I mean, AJ sees the tape.
Yep. And he's like, what is going on?
And then he's
down
like, who are you? What are you? What do you like? Just
What have you done? Like,
yeah.
And he finds the red dress.
The
Yes.
yellow
Or not the red
dress.
dress,
Yeah,
the
yellow
yellow
dress,
dress.
yes.
Man, that actually got me.
It's so
I
upsetting.
was like,
Yeah.
he
man.
got her because
Yep.
he unlocked her window. That is the most
Mhm.
terrifying thing in this whole movie, I think, honestly.
honestly, it is. Because
Yeah.
that
like
actually
there's a
does
creepy
happen.
guy just floating
That is
around.
real. Yep. Yep. Serial
the
killers
mutant-
just wandering around.
The mutant
Doing
people,
whatever.
not so much, but yeah, that is the scariest part of this entire movie.
Mhm.
Is there's somebody out there who's done that before.
Yep.
So yeah,
And you see the tapes with all of the names and like descriptions of
yeah, it has like
women.
their descriptives on it, and there's tons of tapes. Like it's a.
Tons of them.
So here's what's funny. This isn't related to the movie, but when I see that, I remember my grandparents' house, and I remember seeing they had cabinet, like a whole bookshelf of VHS tapes
Mm-hmm.
with written labels because they just used to record shit off of TV, HBO.
It looked like that. Of just like Sharpie.
Yeah. Beverly Hills Cop.
Yep.
Miss those good old days.
Man,
It's
wait,
much
so
better
this
now.
is kind of a sidetrack thing. Did you guys ever hear about this lady who literally decided, like, one day, she was like a very wealthy person. She just set up a bunch of TVs and decided she was going to record literally everything that was on TV.
Yeah.
No,
I think I
what?
heard of
Really?
that.
I didn't see
Yeah,
that.
I mean, literally, she had so
Yes, like-
many. She had like a freaking warehouse full of
Like
tapes that she had
archive
recorded.
footage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's the cool part: like, she had things on there that like had been lost,
Yeah.
and they were
Well,
able
that
to get
is
it back
great.
because she
That is-
decided to record everything.
Yeah,
It's
I do love that.
fascinating.
I love when you. I mean, this is a tangent. I don't know what we're
Borderline
going on,
crazy.
but we're gonna go on it. Why not? I love seeing like old commercials.
Oh my
Yes,
gosh!
me
I
too.
watched a bunch of old commercials on YouTube a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I
Yes.
did too. I just love it because it's just you feel
Gosh.
with nostalgia, and
We're
you're like,
so weird.
oh my god, I love that. Yeah.
Literally, we were talking about it last night with Quincy's brother. We were talking about, oh man, you know what commercial I really love? I love those, like the Christmas commercial with the Hershey Kisses and they're ringing the little bells.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We wish you a
My
Merry
favorite
Christmas.
commercial. We'll get back on track here in a minute. But my favorite
Classic.
commercial, one of my favorite commercials of all time, one of my favorite jingles, is for the board game Crossfire.
Crossfire. You'll get caught up in it.
Yeah. that sounds like a-
Crossfire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In they're playing that weird game where they're just shooting balls at each other. It's like
Yeah.
the dude
I know what
loses
you're talking about.
and he spins out. Crossfire. Oh.
Yes. Dude, toy commercials. Toy commercials are like a different kind of thing.
They
But
were
I
the
think
best. Yeah.
if I have to pick a favorite commercial, it was probably several years ago. There was like a I think it was a Snickers commercial. And this guy was just singing a song about Snickers, and I could probably still sing it, but I'm not going to on this podcast. But you can look it up.
I
You can
opened
find
with the
it.
worst freaking British accent you've ever heard in your entire
No,
life.
I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it. I'll do it off camera. But and there's a Sonic one that I liked around that same time.
If
That
we're
I
going
still sing.
of all time, one of my other favorites is the one where Peyton Manning is wearing the mustache and he's like talking about himself.
6'5", 230-pound quarterbacks, laser rocket arm.
Yeah.
Maybe you could use for Peyton Manning's team, maybe.
Yeah, one of my favorites. Love
Or
it so
that,
much.
what was it, American Express, and he was like going around to all these places.
Cut that meat! Cut that meat! Yeah. All Peyton's commercials are top tier.
What's your favorite commercial? Leave it down in the comments.
And what's your favorite Peyton Manning commercial specifically? It's a whole genre.
There's
It's a
so
whole separate
many.
genre.
There's so
Yeah.
many.
So Mother is on the hunt, by the way. We
Yes.
forgot to mention that. She's escaped and she's on the hunt.
She's
And
looking for her baby.
yeah, so Tess
Her favorite baby.
Great.
crushes her with this car. Just
Mhm.
rams her.
Yeah.
Rams into the house and seemingly killing her.
Yep.
And she goes back down to go retrieve AJ. AJ decides to shoot Tess.
Oh man, how upsetting was that?
Dude, when he shoots her and it looks like she's
Yeah.
dead.
Yeah, she looked dead.
I know, she lays there lifeless
You
with her
see-
eyes open.
You see like kind of like a out of focus light in the tunnel when she's looking for him, and then you just
Yeah.
hear a pop, and she's just down, and you're like, no.
And yeah, she's laying there with her eyes open. Yeah.
because he grabbed the gun that the old man had.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
Mhm.
Man, that
Hey,
how upsetting.
Yeah. You're just like, I was like, dude,
You're
what
like,
the
no,
fuck?
I thought
Come
that was
on.
gonna be like the thing that was gonna make me hate it.
Yeah, that was the ending. It just
Yeah.
ends right there.
Yeah.
But no, he helps her get out of the
Yeah.
house.
Yeah.
And they but-
Non-fatal wound, as
Yeah.
far as we know.
So she's shot, she's hurt. They crawl out of the basement, and Mother is gone. She's not on that hood like she was when
Yes.
when we left her. So they hightail it out, and they meet with the homeless guy again. And he has this like conversation about it, and he's like, "You just need to go." And he's like, I can't, we've got to get her help. We've got to at least try. I made a tons of mistakes in my life. I need to make up for it. And this is where you start to kind of feel that way, Derek. Like maybe they're going to give this guy an arc, right? Some kind of
Or at
redemption
least like
arc.
a little atonement.
Yeah.
You
Maybe
just
give him a
fucking keep
hero's end or something.
disappointing you.
Oh, dude, and when Mother, because the guy's like, well, why do you think I've been
That homeless dude is super cocky.
Yeah, he's like, I've been out here for so
You've
I've
never
been here. I've been here for so long.
Yeah.
And he
She
gets
wasn't
in
interested in
years.
that guy.
he gets
This
fucked
fucking
up
destroys the wall. Comes
Yeah.
out of it.
Breaks
and
through like the
beats him to
Kool-Aid
death
man.
with his like own arm.
Yes,
You're ready to
dude.
fix it off and beat him to death.
I didn't even have time to process that. I was just like, did she just rip his arm off and beat him with it? Like I didn't even react, I don't think. I was just like, this is normal.
I was like,
This is normal.
nice. So she just was, giving him a hand. And then they take off and decide to climb this tower to get away from her.
Mm-hmm.
Because they can't get out of the fence because it's
Yeah.
barbed wire. They can't.
Barbed
climb it.
wire.
It's barbed.
Mhm.
Yeah. So
And Justin Long is leaving her in the dust at this point.
he's just not even really caring about her. But then he comes like, oh, come on. And so they make it up to the top of this tower. And Mother gets up there with them. And he basically, AJ, does the ultimate dick move
Oh gosh.
and says she's not going to be able to get both of us. I'm really sorry. And
I gotta leave you
fucking
here.
throws her off the tower.
Yeah.
And he's like, you want her, come and get her. And throws her off the tower. And Mother jumps down after her baby.
Yep.
And we just look down and we see them both laying in a pool of, just in a pool of blood.
And we're like, yep, they're dead.
Yep, gonzo. And
I actually felt like she survived because Mother made it down and was on the bottom. She took most of the blow.
Yeah, so they make it down, or he makes it down there, and
dude,
we find out that Tess is still alive.
Story.
Yeah, and he's like, "Oh, I tried." What was his story exactly? What was it, Derek?
He was like, you slept. He's like, I wasn't gonna throw you off.
Mm-hmm.
But
I wanted to lure her out. Yeah.
Yeah. You slipped and you fell down.
He's like, you saw it, right? You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah. And that's exactly goes back to the beginning with the rape. And you're like, oh yeah, okay, 100% he did it. Like this is who this guy is.
Mm-hmm.
And if he didn't die, he would have kept doing that shit.
Yeah, I thought Mother was dead at this point, and I'm like, man, if I were her, I'd pick that gun up and I'd shoot him right in the face.
Yeah.
That's my
doesn't get the chance to do that because instead Mother wakes up.
Yeah, she does.
Yeah.
And
you don't fuck with her baby.
No, crushes his head.
Dude, she gouges his eyeballs out and
rips his head apart. Yeah, crushes it. His whole head's gone. He's done so. And then she's like wanting to drag her back to the house. And she's mortally wounded. Mother is. And she's baby. And so Tess has to mercy kill her, essentially. And because she also can't be dragged back and held captive.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of really sad.
It is kind of sad.
Broke my heart, man.
Because she's rubbing her.
That
saying,
she really
baby.
cared, She really cared about her.
Yeah.
In her own weird way.
Yep.
I mean, it's not. It's a motherly instinct. Like that video, man. I go back to that video. Like that is literally the only, other than the guy who probably raped her too when she was a kid.
Yeah.
That's the only connection she's ever had to the outside world. It is just devastating. Anyway, go ahead.
Yep. So yeah, she mercy kills her, shoots her, and then walks off into the night. Essentially,
and it ends.
Yep, walks off into the night.
I skipped all the way to the end because it kept having like intermittent shots of her walking.
Of her walking. Yeah.
But it doesn't really definitively. We assume that she makes it out.
Yeah, I'm assuming she makes it out as well. I mean, I would, like, not say so much. She makes it to sunrise, so it's like she's walking, into the light. That's kind of metaphorically as definitive as you can get, right?
Right.
Made it to daylight.
And a song is playing.
Yeah. So she survived, and that is the end of Barbarian. Which is a title that I really still don't understand. But
yeah, it's like who is the barbarian? Are they all barbarians in a way?
Yeah,
I thought it was
just
a play
the
on
mom?
the name of the road. The street,
I think it is. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't think about
because
that.
I had to whenever they said the name of the road, I was like, man, that's so close to the title. I had to look the name
What
up
was the name
again.
of the road?
It was like Barbarian Street or something like that.
Barbary Street or something like that?
Yeah, something like that.
That's interesting.
I know that they I think what happened is Barbarian was what I read about was the working title. When that was Zach Cregger's working title when he was writing the script.
Mm-hmm.
It just was the working title that he had, and then he just liked it enough that it stuck through the whole thing. It just, sometimes that happens. I mean, I've fallen in love with the title before,
Mm-hmm.
and it kind of doesn't make as much sense as it could, but I'm like, fucking title rules.
It's kind of like whatever we want it to be a little bit.
Yeah.
So what would you retitle this movie to give it a better description other than Barbarian? Lydia, what do you
man, I don't know.
I mean,
I know the perfect title for this, but then you'd be like, oh, it's a Jennifer Lawrence movie.
What?
Mother. It was
Mother. Oh, okay, yeah. Or,
I was gonna call it Rape Monster.
Yeah, no kidding.
Man.
It's a little too on the nose, but
yeah, something about Barbarian just fits.
Yeah, it fits the movie well.
It's like, it makes you think. It's like they're all barbarians.
Guys, what are you guys going to rate Barbarian? Let's start with you, Lydia.
Man, okay, so me and Jake were talking about this, and I was like, this was good. I really enjoyed this movie on the first watch. And I would recommend it to people. Probably, yeah, I would definitely recommend it because it's just, an interesting watch. Either way, whether you like it or not, it's going to be interesting, right?
Yeah. Memorable.
Yeah,
watch.
memorable for sure.
For sure.
But do I think it's like one of the all-time classics? That I don't think so. So I think I am gonna give it a 9 because I had such a good time watching it, and I had such a good time talking to you guys about it. So I think it's just so memorable, and it was well done, well written, well acted, well directed. It was all beautiful. I'm gonna give it a 9.
Derek, what do you think?
So this movie caught me off guard from the very beginning. I was so nervous in the beginning just because I kept waiting for the jump scare that never came.
Mm-hmm.
And then when it did come, it was just completely different than you expected it to be. And I actually think it was a great benefit not knowing anything about this movie.
Agreed.
Except for the title. Not a synopsis, not a trailer or anything. And so from that point, then, you get the Justin Long's character, and this movie is kind of a roller coaster.
It definitely is a roller coaster.
It tells a good story. I enjoyed it a lot. I'm going to give this movie an 8.5. It was pretty solid. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, I liked it. I liked it. That's why I picked it. I was interested to see what you guys would think about it. I figured you both would like it because we all have similar tastes. But I was like, I just want to see what you guys would think of these big tonal shifts and these big swings that this movie takes. I am going to give it an 8 because I did enjoy it. I think the acting is, like you said, very good. I think the cinematography is great in it. I think it's beautifully shot. And I think it's very well executed. The direction's really good, and it's very well executed. and it just takes some like wild leaps, and you're just like, whoa, okay. And they just keep on coming. Once that first one hits, then it's just like, you don't know what's going to happen next. That's what I love about it, is that it's anything but predictable. We talked about a movie not too long ago when we were like, okay, so we knew this was happening. We knew what was going to happen, which is fine. I mean, that's part of movies. But when it takes you on like a journey and a ride that you're not expecting, I kind of love that. I don't think all movies should be like that. A James Bond movie should have the formula that a James Bond movie has, right? A Halloween movie should have a formula of a Halloween movie. But these kind of movies, I like when they kind of just take wild swings. Sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't. This one, it just happened to work.
And just to add a little bit to that, I definitely see the point in time where it could have went off the rails. And so this is definitely kudos to the writer. But the
Zach
transition
Cregger.
from the tunnel scene to Justin Long, because it's just a completely different movie.
Yeah.
At that point, and you're just like, man, how are they gonna? Because you don't know at that point how are they gonna intertwine these things, and then you start to get his backstory of what's going on with him, and you're just like, what? I mean, for like a good 5 minutes, you're like, what just happened?
You still, yeah, it does take you a few minutes to acclimate to that change.
Like to see the connection, and it's a brilliant connection. And
I remember feeling, like I said, that weird numbness when it happened. I was just like trying to catch back up to it. I was like, okay.
Yeah, because
okay,
you went from Detroit to the scene of the ocean.
Yeah,
and these things couldn't be farther apart.
And what's great is, as a filmmaker, I'm like, my head spinning, like, okay, how are they going to tie this back in? What's going on here? And then I was like, once it all started to play out, I was like, this is pretty cool. This is pretty cool.
Yeah, no, it was really good storytelling.
Yeah.
Especially for the jump that they made to bring it back. That's awesome. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, I liked it quite a bit too.
Not everybody can pull that shit off.
No, and like Lydia said, there are some people that really just did not like it.
I can just a little bit. I really liked this movie. There's not much I would change about it. The only thing I would change would be that one scene, but I'm shocked that it got some negative reviews.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I could see it happening. This is funny. Remember how we were just talking about how great the Justin Long casting is, and how it sets your expectations and changes it. Zach Cregger originally wanted Zac Efron as AJ.
Oh, really?
Because he was going to cast him as more of a himbo, and he was going to be, just like a total himbo character.
I'm glad that didn't happen.
Yeah, well, because the casting Justin Long completely subverts your expectations and allows you into it easier, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Of course, and it definitely gives you the ability to sympathize with him a little bit more because, and this is nothing against Zac Efron. I've never heard a story like this about him or anything like that, but you could definitely, just from a mental picture, be like, that guy would totally do that. But Justin Long, you're like, man, I don't know. And
it also helps.
He's like happy-go-lucky at the beginning of that. He's singing, and you're just like.
What helps is we also have had 20 years of Justin Long, right?
Right.
In the roles that Justin Long has played.
We know him.
We have that baggage.
We know him in the horror world too,
Yeah, and we have that baggage where we're like, Justin Long is. I mean, the only other movie we've covered with Justin Long on this podcast is Drag Me to Hell, and he is the sweetest, most understanding boyfriend that has ever existed.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And he watches his girlfriend get horribly dragged to hell. So that is Barbarian. So, guys, it's time for our favorite part of the podcast. We have to Atkinize Barbarian. Who would Tom Atkins play in this?
Thrill me.
if he were younger.
Well, I
dude, he
mean,
would be
remember, the rules are any age Atkins. Yeah.
Mhm.
yeah, dude, if he was like the Fog age, I think he could have pulled off the Bill Skarsgård
Oh yeah,
character.
he could have been.
Yeah.
Yeah, he could have done that for sure.
And then she definitely would have slept with him, and then it would have been over.
I mean,
Yeah,
I
it would have
think
been completely different. Yeah.
the cast of this movie was only like 5 people.
Yeah. Well, because he could have done that. He also could have played the creepy guy.
The old guy?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We don't
Oh, yeah,
want
yeah,
to
it
see
could have been.
that.
Yeah.
He could have been one of
pulled
the
it off.
cops.
He
There's
could have
a
been one
couple
of the
characters he could have.
I'd say,
He would've-
I mean, I don't see him as AJ because there would have been no need for rape if he was AJ.
Yeah. That's a silly question, Miss Rogers.
Yeah.
Whatever her name was.
Oh yeah.
Where do you want to sleep?
Where do you want to sleep, Dr. Chalice? Well, that's a silly question. Then he goes to Bone Town.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd say Keith would be good. Yeah, that'd be a good. He'd do pretty good in that role.
Yeah.
Now, Lydia, it is your turn to pick.
Yes. So I was prepared this time.
Ooh, it's a shot.
Um,
Shot to the system.
and I don't think I don't know if either of you have seen this one.
Oh.
But it is also on HBO Max. It came out in 2020, so it's a newer one.
Mhm.
And it is called The Night House, and it is directed by David Bruckner.
Oh, I like David Bruckner. The Night House.
It's a nice one, and I think it's going to be fun. It's going to be a fun watch.
a nice one.
Yes. I don't
does
know if
that
it's
mean?
so nice, but I mean, it's visual. It's
Oh,
visually
okay.
nice.
It's a
scary.
nice one.
You know, it's scary, but
It's a nice
visually
one.
nice.
I was like, what the hell does that mean?
I'm interested to
Yeah.
know your guys' thoughts, so that's why. I'm
Okay,
picking
The
it.
Night House. It is. You said it's also on.
HBO
okay.
Max.
Okay, good. Yeah, I've watched several of Bruckner's movies. The new Hellraiser, of course. I've watched his episodes of Creepshow. I've watched The Ritual in VHS. The Ritual is an interesting one. We'll have to get into at some point as well.
Yes, that's one of the ones that's
It's an
been
interesting
kind of
one.
on my
Yeah,
on
we'll have
my
to get into
list to
that.
pick. Yeah.
So next week it is The Night House on HBO Max. Derek, do you have a story for us tonight?
I did not think of one.
We do this every week.
I know. I get busy. I forgot to think of something. Give me a second. I'm sure I can conjure something up.
Ooh, The Conjuring. Have this cool Friday the 13th pin, guys. Has Jason on it. There he is.
Oh, nice.
Indy?
I thought you meant like pin, like enamel pin.
No,
Kind of
like an ink
situation.
pin.
That's pretty cool.
And the mask moves.
Where did you get that?
I think I
I want
got
one.
it at FYE.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Damn. I was just there.
It was a while ago. I got this a while ago.
Ah, dang.
But it rules.
It does rule.
Derek, story.
So I was in college, right? I'll tell the backstory to this. So I was in college and I was taking, I think, an anatomy class, and this really cute girl was sitting next to me. And so like we struck up a friendship and we'd have lunch and stuff like that. And we'd go on walks. And I was dating somebody at the time, and it was like not going super well, but like I'm not really a cheating type person. So oh my gosh. So we had been friends for a couple months, and she's like, hey, why don't you come over to my house this weekend? We're going to have like a little party. And like my girlfriend was working, and I was like, sure, I'll stop by. And so I stopped by, and she's already had a couple of things to drink. And so she takes me up to her room. She's like, oh, it's really hot in here. She takes off her shirt. And I'm like, man, I will hate myself for the rest of my life. I do one of these numbers. Because I'm a gentleman. And I'm like, no, I've got a girlfriend. And so I do this and I wait for her to change. And then she asks me to stay the night. And I'm like, I can't. And she's like, oh, I understand. And then like her roommate like says, like gets her out of the room and stuff like that. And anyway, like I go home and I'm feeling super guilty. And so I tell my girlfriend like what happened. And then she like messages this girl. I'm like, why'd you have to go and do that? Anyway, so me and that girl eventually do break up. And I ask this girl on a date. And so we go on a date. And we go to Olive Garden, and it's going pretty well until they come and ask us what we want to eat. And
okay.
I had a conversation with her, and this goes back to like the girl that I had just stopped dating. Like she always expected me to order for her, and so it was just kind of like a routine thing. And so I got an idea, and I told him what she would have, and then I told him what I would have, and she did not like that. And so she took great offense that I ordered for her. And I felt absolutely terrible because you can ask my wife, I never have ordered for her or anybody ever again. So,
What did you order her?
I mean, I think pretty much
Do you
what
remember?
she wanted. No, not specifically, but like there was one thing like she didn't want enough. It was great. So we never went on another date. We remained
my
friends,
God.
but we never went on another date. I'm like,
So
okay.
you ordered her food for her.
And
That
then
was
she
it.
cut out. Yeah, that was the end of
Yep.
story. She's like, listen, cheating I'm okay with, but you better not fucking order my food.
Wow.
I would know that's not fair, but she was really nice, and who knows what would have been, but yeah. So I don't order girls' food. I don't order food for girls anymore.
It's
He
like
doesn't even order
because
my
some
food.
girls like that, right? You know?
Well,
I mean-
and it was just one of those things. Like the previous relationship, like she wanted me to do it. Like, you know what I mean? Like we would
Oh,
talk about
okay.
it, and so like I just, I dated her for like 7 or 8
my
years.
gosh.
I did that, and it was
You weren't like, what do you want? You were just like, get her the pasta that I like. So
yeah,
you were like,
I don't remember the specifics of it, but it was
I'll have
probably
the,
very rude
I'll have the
and
spaghetti. She'll
presumptuous
have
of me.
the pasta
salad.
ragu.
Yeah, give her
Yeah,
just a
and
simple salad, and I'll have a steak.
She'll take one salad
And
Gotcha.
2 rolls, no
and
more,
a
no more.
Diet Coke.
And a Diet Coke, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, she was the sweetest. She was a super sweet girl, and it's a bummer that I screwed it up.
You
But
blew it.
It's all right.
I
Holy
did,
cow,
you know,
Derek.
you moved
blew
on,
it
you
big
were
time.
fine.
yeah, I've got 2 beautiful kids and a lovely wife, and I wouldn't change anything. But
Well,
yeah.
you probably would have looked.
Oh my gosh.
I definitely wish I would have looked. Like if I could change anything, I would definitely not have put a barrier up and been like, oh, gentlemen.
No, that's
here."
really great though. He doesn't even order for me when we go to Taco Bell. He's like, "What do you want?"
Wow.
He thinks that I'm going to quit being his friend if he does. Derek, we are through.
I feel like the only time I would ever order like for someone is if they're not with me and I'm getting something, and then I'll be like, well, I get to pick what you're getting then. But I usually know what the person would be interested in, and then they're just happy to see that you brought them food. So they don't care. They're not like, oh, well, you should have got me the number 7 instead of the number 2, like whatever. They're just like, oh, food, cool.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's the truth. That's a good one, Derek. I remember that one.
That's funny.
That's a lesson to all you out there. Never order
yeah.
food for somebody, because by the end of the date could change your life forever.
Yeah.
I know, and the thing is, like, I'd known, not personally, but like she and I had discussed like some relationships she had been in, and I'm just like, oh, those guys are jerks. I don't think I was a jerk for doing that.
She just thought. Here's
You're
what
like
happened.
trying to be a good guy.
Here's what happened. She thought you were controlling because you ordered her food.
That's probably what happened. Yeah.
For sure.
I would probably think that
guarantee
too.
That would, yeah, no, I 100%. She's probably like, I don't want any part of that.
Yeah, I don't want to. He pretends like he's a nice guy, but really, he's
Yeah.
He orders your food for you. Yeah, he's so demanding.
I feel like Jake should just order my food for me though, because anytime we go out to eat anywhere, he will order something and then I'll order something else, and I always want what he has. So like, you should just order for me.
I prefer Sarah not to order my food because she always gets it wrong and I get my mayonnaise on it.
That happens.
So
it's not her fault. She orders it correctly, but then they always just put
mess it
mayonnaise
up.
on.
And
I'll get it home and I'm like,
yep.
Both things. If you just wouldn't have put mayonnaise, I could have scraped everything else off. But you can't scrape off the mayonnaise, you see, because it soaks into the bun and it soaks into the burger.
And mustard.
Makes it better. So here's a contrast to my wife. One of the very first dates that we went on, that we went out and got food. I remember she ordered for herself, and I ordered for myself. And then we're eating, and she's like, "Oh, that looks really good," and she just reaches over and like eats stuff off my plate. Yeah, and I'm just like, "Well, that's different. I've never had that happen before, especially if they don't ask." Like, "Oh, can I try that?" Of course you can.
Like, I'm gonna just take your food.
You know what? I had that happen to me one time, and they still have not found the body.
Oh,
Derek, do you remember when you tried to pull the salt stunt?
Oh no, loosen the top.
You did pull it, but remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah, you should tell that one real quick too. Why not? It's a quick one.
Oh my gosh, this one is brilliant, Lydia. It's so good. I will never be able to duplicate this. So it's me, my and two of my former roommates, right? It's a guy and a girl, and she just happened to have a crush on me when we were in college. And so we go to
that's another story. We'll talk about that sometime.
It is. So we go to spring break and we go to Florida, and we're sitting at this restaurant, and she gets up, and it was a buffet. She gets up to go get some food, and I take some salt and I put it in her drink.
Oh no!
Right, and she comes back and she takes a drink and she's like, "Oh!" So she gets another one, and then she has to go to the bathroom. So she gets up and she goes to the bathroom, and this is, oh my gosh, it worked out so well. I put salt in my drink because we ordered sweet tea. I put salt in my drink.
No.
And she gets back to the table and she was like, "You're not going to fool me again." She takes my drink and takes a drink, and it's full of salt.
That is so good.
That was the proudest moment of my entire life.
It's a classic. That's the classic Abbott and Costello. Classic Abbott and Costello.
It was beautiful. It worked out so well.
That's a great one.
I stopped doing it because the waitress was starting to get mad because she kept having
You're wasting all of her tea.
Yeah, I was like, I'll quit.
God,
the best part
is funny.
The waitress came up and Derek switched her drink.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Derek salted the whole restaurant's tea.
He was
in the dispenser.
He was charged with assaulting. Yeah. And that is our show, guys. Thank you for tuning in to episode 2 of season 3. This is our second, going on third full year of doing this podcast. Please comment down below on what movies we should do next week or next. Next week we are watching what's it called?
The
Night House.
The Night House.
I had High House in my head, and I was like, nope, that definitely sounds like people are getting high in a house. That's not
I had
Glass House.
I
had Glass House in my head.
David Bruckner's The Night House. It's on HBO Max. You can find us online at HiLaProductions.com. You can find us at Facebook at HiLa Productions. You can find us on Instagram at Screen Bloody Movies. You can find us each on Twitter. You can find Derek at DDoglyMaster. You can find Lydia at Lydia Spooky. And you can find me at Racket. Be sure to find this podcast on all your audio listening destinations, so to speak. And come back here to this channel. And be sure to like, comment, share, and subby. It's up here. So if there's nothing else, for Derek LeMaster and Lydia Judy, I'm Jamie Hiles. Thanks for joining us tonight. And remember, if you're going to scream bloody movies. See you next time.